Rec- आता.
Good morning and warm welcome to you all. I am Vaibhav, your host for today. Let's continue with our 136th virtual webinar. Our topic for today is term validation in ISO 9001-2015 standard. It shall be taken by Dr. Abhimanyu Samrat. He shall cover ISO 9001-2015 QMS standards requirement, understanding the term validation among the different clauses, clause 8.3, clause 8.4.3, clause 8.5.1, and followed by question and answer session. Let's quickly go through the agenda. Virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker, presentation by Dr. Abhimanyu Samrat, question and answer session, and last closing session. A brief introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. Sadgun Sangh conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with the mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. His designation and organization: Chairman and Managing Director, International Certification Services Private Limited. Academic qualification: Doctorate in Business Management, Mechanical Engineer. His experience: Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant, RAPP, at Rawatbata, Kota, built by Indian engineers. Work as nuclear scientist for 11 years and successfully completed and commissioned the plant. Engineers India Limited, first batch of engineers to develop Bombay High offshore oil and gas fields, mega offshore complex platform, trunk and submarine pipelines, underwater inspection and indigestion oil and gas equipment, etc. DET NORSK Versatile World, largest classification society, worked for 17 years at various capacity for the certification of fixed offshore installations, submarine pipelines, onshore projects and personnel qualification, underwater inspection divers, ICS. He is a founder of India's first certification conformance assessment body established in the year 1999, provider of total quality solution, certification of management system, ISO, inspection, testing, training, qualification of personnel, achievements and awards. Received Lifetime Achievement Award for the contribution for the corrosion technologies from NACE International by NIGIS under NACE USA, social worker, protection of life, asset, environmental and safety. Now I request Dr. Kataria to virtually inaugurate the session.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय सम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Please join us for the recitation of the Gayatri Mantra. Let's know more about our today's keynote speaker by brief introduction. Dr. Abhimanyu Samrat, his designation and organization, MD and CEO, Samrat Corporate Consultants Private Limited. His academic qualification, PhD, Operation Management on the topic A Study of Quality Management System, Implementation Context with reference to ISO 9001 standard. MBA, International Business from Institute of Management, Nirma University. QMS, Consultant registered in NVQP, Graduate in Science, Mathematics. His area of specialization and experience, presented various papers, alumni of US State Department as Young Entrepreneur, Master Trainer of Z, founder and managing trustee named like Vikas Samsan, having experience of 200 plus organization, management consultancy execution, vast experience of corporate training, a true polyglot having ability to communicate in various global languages like Sanskrit, French, English, Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Punjabi, and Sindhi. Non-executive individual director in GTU, GIS, a nodal agency for the Startup Gujarat Policy. Board of Governors, member of Gujarat Technological University. Please welcome Dr. Abhimanyu Samrat, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaibhav.
Thank you, sir.
Just this session is, I think, if anybody wants to ask any questions, so I request you can raise your hand or you can write in the comment. So in between also, if you want to ask any question, we can discuss in that sense. I'm just sharing my screen. So can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the term validation is the topic today we are going to discuss about. Let's go through the standard requirements. Let's come directly to the point of discussion. I think the people who have connected here, they are all well-versed about the ISO 9001 standard, that's quality management system. And that's ISO is an international organization which is accepted by more than 205 countries. They are members. India is one of the founder member. It was incepted in 1946, and Geneva, Switzerland is the headquarter of ISO, and This 9001 is the standard for quality management system, where organization who wants to implement this, they can demonstrate their ability to show the world like they have quality systems in place. So this quality standard is for system, not for products. It's not only for products. So it's not a product certification or standard. It's a management system standard. And in this area, organization wants to implement various systems with their various functions, let's say for production, quality, environment, occupational health and safety, and all these different areas. They want to implement the quality management system or management system requirements in all these different functions. uh, they have to verify, they have to check whether their systems are in place or not. For that, they get some outside third party certification agencies. So one of the agencies can be ICS as well. It's an Indian certification body. And likewise, there are hundred of certification agencies, and organization get validated, their management systems are implemented. So let's proceed to the, okay, how it is defined, a definition in ISO 9000 standard. So dedicated standard for vernacular, like the vocabularies, ISO 9000 2015. So fundamentals and vocabularies belongs to this standard. So in that clause number 3.8.13, it shows the definition of validation. So validation is defined like confirmation through the provision of objective evidence that the requirements for a specific intended use or application have been fulfilled. So the main word, the important word here is intended use, the specific intended use. I just want to share the standard itself. If you see this, I'm just sharing the ISO 9000 standard. In that, if you see, there is one more definition, which is okay. So everybody can see this screen on. Vaibhav, just give me confirmation if you
Yes,
can.
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. So the validation, before that, there is one more definition, is verification. So what is verification? Fundamentally, it is very nearby words, like it's very hairline distance to understand verification and validation. What is the difference between verification and validation? So the verification is defined as the confirmation through the provision of objective evidence that specified requirements have been fulfilled. If you see, the verification and validation, they both are like nearby, are almost same kind of definitions. If you see, validation definition is also the confirmation through the provision of objective evidence that the requirements for a specific intended use or applicable application have been fulfilled. So here, the intended use or application is the important word, and rather the verification shows just like the requirements have fulfilled. How it is fulfilled, you are least bothered about that. So coming to the presentation again, So the word here important is specific intended use or application have been fulfilled. So if you remove this word and directly if you join the requirements have been fulfilled, that is the verification. So what exactly verification and validation is? And there is one more word, there are two more, in fact, terminology I want to share here. One is check and one is review. So what are the difference between check, review, verification, and validation? So check is mostly a checklist. Normally a 7QC tool is a checklist, we know, or it's very easy, like in our everyday household also we keep checklists. We have to go, we need to visit to bazaar and we keep a checklist, like, okay, what are the points, what are the things we have to buy? We just make a simple checklist. So checklist is a kind of a review document or verification document or methodology where a closed answer only possible, like it is yes or no, it is check or not check, it is done or not done, it is okay or not okay. That is kind of checklist. What is review? So the review is one step ahead than checklist, beyond than checklist. So review, when you do review, you just evaluate, you have some data, some measurement, some objective evidence. What is verification? How verification is different from review? So the review has agent, some measurements, some results, but if you compare these results with the planned arrangements and you've identified the differences where it is compliance or non-compliance, that is verification. So it gives, in verification definition also we saw that the confirmation. So you have to declare the confirmation. So review maybe just give you a results, but beyond the results, verification gives you confirmation through objective evidence. See, objective evidence are required in review also. And verification, it is confirmation through verification with objective evidence. So not only objective evidence, but you have to declare it is conforming or not conforming. And with some plan arrangements, you might have your quality plan, your production plan, your business plan, can be anything. And these plans are meeting with you have some objective evidence for that, and that is verification. And validation is having a little more thing beyond all these requirements, where validation is the specific intended use are met or not, that we need to verify. So note 1 to entry, if we see in this, the objective evidence needed for a validation is the result of a test or other form of determination, such as performing alternative calculations or reviewing documents. So validation is not only reviewing a documentation. It is not, like, for example, chartered accountants, they also do audits for financial auditing, or a financial auditing, they don't require validation. They are verification activity. That audit is a verification activity. So chartered accountant, normally they don't go to the sites, they don't visit to the sites for validating. They need some input and output documents like credit and debit data and do data analysis with all that submitted records by the client. In their office setup itself, they can declare which is conforming or not conforming. That's it. So the confirmation given with the objective evidence, only a documented information available. So these documents are valid or not, that is not their responsibility. If a customer is submitting forged or wrong document with maybe with intention or unintention, but the audit results will come with the depend on that document. So it's limiting the requirements. And here, the validation, where it is beyond the reviewing a document, you have to do some alternative calculation also. You have to perform some alternatives. How alternatives are possible? Let's say, with respect to some document you are reviewing, you just ask a question to the user, like you interview the people on the shop floor, and you verify multiple interviews and get the data and sense the actual ability of performed results. So that is the confirmation which gives the more stringent or more strong results comparing with the only verification. So this is validation, not only having objective evidence and not only having a documented review, but you have to perform some alternative calculation as well. So what is validation done? We designate the term, it is validated, the English word. There are some dictionaries where validated word is not there. So standard is defined here specifically. It designates the corresponding status. So it is done, validated. The same way we communicate for verification. So verified, it is, we communicate that way. And the use of conditions for validation can be real or stimulated also. Let's say, for example, you are a food processing company and your food, let's say you are making chips, potato chips. And these chips you are putting in the market, which is you do testings in your internal laboratories. That means you have a checklist in production department. Your laboratory verifies that. So it's reviewing that, they give the results. And there is a quality check department, quality assurance department. They declare this batch is confirmed. So quality control department's responsibility is to declaring the verification results. But these verification results are based on that test happen in the environment of laboratory. And on that pack, the organization gives the expiry date. So the food product is having an expiry. So how the organization is confirmed that the product results, the laboratory given the results, that will perform up to its intended use. The intended use is the last date of that packaged food. So last date and last minute, that food should be quality. So for that, they have to do some alternate arrangement. They have to do some alternate calculations. So there are some penetration test organizations nowadays perform. There are dedicated laboratories available. They do, like, for example, for chips manufacturing company, they declare 6 months of validity of that chips inside the pack. There are ready to eat food nowadays. It's a ready food is prepared, just it's sealed packed in the packaging and for 1 year validity. So 1 year is the expiry date. The food we know in our home, it don't remain more than 12 hours. The food gets expired. But how these packaged foods are retaining for more than like year. And for that, they have their special packaging. For that, they have some arrangements, their recipes, their ingredients. But what are the results? How they check, how they confirm this will be for at least 365 days, it will remain the same. So that is the validation they do from the external labs or the internal facility they have. And they, or rather than the organization has to wait for launching a product for at least 1 year, because they have to check in their own premises. They have to keep for the product, the batch for 1 year. And after 1 year, the test, it's confirmed. So they can declare the 1 year is a validity. The expiry date is 1 year. So now in the fast world, today's scenario, nobody wants to wait for 1 year. So there are different science available. There are some techniques available. There they test it in the penetration test. They give some temperature, the environment, and then they calculate it. There are some special alternative calculation which instead of keeping that food for 1 year, rather than that comes in 1 or 2 months, the results comes. So the validity of the product, it comes that way also. So the conditions of validation, it is stimulated. So simulation is possible, or organization in a real sense, if they want to validate, they have to keep the product for 1 year, for long 1 year. So this is all about the validation definition. Let's proceed for ISO 9001 standard. In that, there are 3 clauses defining the term validation. So now we understood the validation, where the important word in the definition is intended use or application. Now, coming to the design and development clause 8.3, in that there are 2 sub-clauses, 8.3.2, 8.3.4, where it is defined the design and development validation. Let's see validation. What is design and development? Normally in industry, they have R&D department, research and development. So research, here the standard doesn't say research, it is design, because design, the word design concept is from the idea inception to its prototype and up to its marketability or the selling up to its end. And the entire cycle is design and development, where research and development may be not a working organization, is not working on a new design which is already established in the world, but they are doing research with that information, and they are implementing, they are developing their product into their own environment, in their own manufacturing plant. So design and development here, when organization is developing, let's say in the pharmaceutical organizations, they work on molecules, different molecules. So the molecule is a kind of a design where they have an idea, this molecule has this ability to perform on a human body, which can develop as a medicine as a remedy in the future. So they start working on that. That's a very new idea. That's nobody has worked on that. It's very new invention, innovation. The scientists are working mostly in pharmaceutical companies. This is, I'm taking example. This is also possible for any other industry as well. So working on molecule to making its medicine up to its all testing passed, and it has put on as a medicine, a tablet or a syrup or an injection, while that is available in the market. So it is establishing a new product. That concept is design and development. So when the organization wants to design and development, they have to take care of their planning. So design development plan, they have to think for. So during the design development plan, the verification and validation activities shall be planned before. It should not happen like the organization have completed their entire design, which is developed, the new invention has come up, but they don't know how to verify it. They don't know how to test the performance. They don't know how to declare the expiry date of the product. They don't know how the product will really perform at the application or the intended use. So it should not be at the end where the organization has to declare all the efforts are given for design and development are waste. In this situation, the standard suggests in 8.3.2c, where during the planning itself, the organization has to take care the design development verification, how the verification will be done, how the validation will be done. It will be on a simulator, it will be on a real performance based validation, or like nowadays in pharmaceutical companies, they do testings in their internal lab and they perform it in the lab. It's a review activity, and after that they do verify on some animals, maybe rats, or on they apply the same medicine, and they observe the objective evidence, they get it and they declare it is conforming on an animal which has a low value compared to human life. And after that, they apply the validation on the real-time patients. So there are hospitals, there are laboratories available. They do these kind of testings where the new molecules are developed and they are directly applied on the patient or the human life, where the resulting output can be anything. It's a huge risk for the organization. So the patients, they sign that contract and they allow to get it done on their own body as a test sample, being a sample for that test. And these activities happen. That's a kind of a validation, or real validation on a test sample, maybe a human patient as well. So that activity is a controlling activity of design and development. So the clause 8.3.4 says validation activities are conducted to ensure that the resulting products or services meet the requirements for the specified application or intended use. So again, the same word, the specified application or intended use are the most important words here for validation. Let's say for products, we have example for food, like how it will be expired up to the expiry date, it will be quality, or for medicine, it is with some application of first they apply on the animals and after that they apply on the patients with the contract, with the informing them, and then they put the products successfully in the market. These are the validation example for design and development. What about services? Services doesn't have tangible things. It's not product. Let's say this is a new concept from Samrat Corporate Consultants, our organization, where we have introduced a new topic to discuss on training. Training is a service from Samrat Associates, and this is a new. So I personally am responsible for this new concept, the training module preparing. So I designed, developed it, and I'm applying here. It's very new. I think nobody has given this kind of on this topic any trainings dedicated to this. So there are learned people here. They will give the feedback. This training is worth or not. The contents are worth or not. It is like the validation, the intended use will successfully met or not, a specified application, the people have understood or not regarding validation. That is the result or the feedback after this training can be the validation results of services imparted. That's also possible. So that is area of validation, design development, validation in services. That's one example. Then in E, 8.3.4E, it says any necessary actions are taken or problems determined during the reviews or verification and validation activities. So in product or service validation, it's not always come the positive results. Suppose it's a positive result, it's a green signal, it's beautiful thing, let's go to the market and sell it, decide the price and sell it. But the result is not success. It's if unsuccessful results, then what you need to do, you need to change from the concept, from the idea to its development, from design to development, or what exactly, where, in which stage the failure is captured, like on review stage, on verification stage, on a validation stage. There are cases happen in the industries where the review is confirmed, verification is confirmed. But when you go to validation, there is again a challenge. For example, I have a client, they are into chemical industry, they have a new products they develop into their environment. That is a design and development, the R&D facility. It's a research and development actually. So the product is already designed, its patents are already available, reviewed, route of synthesis they have observed, they have identified, and they are working on that into their facility. So they develop, let's say for XYZ a chemical, they found there is opportunity in the market and they can earn better. They have a good margin for that product. The marketing department or the owner of the company, they are given the task to the R&D department, do some research work on this and develop this product into our plant, and we want to sell this. So the R&D has started digging up the secondary data available on the internet, in on patent documents, on different dossiers, different research journals and all. And they captured some route of synthesis. They identified one route which is feasible for their facility, for their production capabilities. When I say capabilities, which includes 4M, man, machine, material, method. So they have that level of man ability, their competency, the machines facility they have, the material they can purchase, and the methodology of operating that all. So this is all about design development, which is they have started. Then they did some discussion, they did some test in their laboratories, and in during that test they got the results, and the results got successful, which are meeting with the documented information available, and they declared, okay, this is possible. But that possibility was on the gram level or on the laboratory level, where the ingredients, all the raw materials were utilized on the LR grade, which we call laboratory grade, which are the more pure products. In commercial production, normally business organizations, they don't use LR grade in a commercial. They use a commercial grade of products. So the review is success, where they have done the test. They applied, they have their pilot plant into their premises, in their R&D facility. They applied, they have started running the product, the new invented product for their team in the pilot plant. So pilot plant is nothing but a prototype of a production plant, but it is in a very smaller size. It's kind of a glass vessels and structured very small compared to the huge gigantic production facility. So pilot plant may run for 5 kg or 25 kg maximum to running a batch, but 5 kg or 25 kg of product is not viable to sell in the market. So, but that's one stage, important stage. Otherwise, from the laboratory directly running in the tonnage of products, let's say 100 kg or 1000 kg of one batch, it's very big loss possible. Like for that, like not making that risk in the organization makes R&D department mostly having their pilot plants. So in that pilot plant, they run it and they verified it is meeting. But again, the ingredients are labeled LR grade. The pilot plant is like a small quantity. It is like, I'm giving example, you make a tea in your home with your own hands. It's making a tea, the proportion of milk, proportion of sugar and water and tea, that is different for 1 cup of tea. The same way, if you have to make for 1000 people tea at a time in a single pan, that proportion, that formula exactly may not work. You need not to waste that level of maybe the tea portion you can reduce in that, you can save. And if, or maybe possible, the same quantity of tea, if you apply for the 1000 people, it may give a different test. The test may get failure. So when you go in a mass level, in a production level, in a commercial level, so the formula may get changed. The proportion of ingredients may change. The ingredients quality parameters may change. or you may not available that much of quantity of LR grade products also. So after getting verification of results, the pilot plant, they have to perform the product on their own internal facility, manufacturing facility. So when they go to their own vessels, they have so many like infrastructure with the SCADA operations and all. So when they apply the validation of that particular process, the product, but it's happened once a while, like it was not success. So the when it was success in the laboratory, when test tube they were testing laboratory facility, it was passed in the pilot plant, but it was not success in the manufacturing facility with the gang of manufacturing people, their SCADA system, controlling system, their vessels. It's a big size with the different suppliers products, not LR grade, it's a commercial grade. And all that learning has come up with a new idea where they are making mistakes. So they identified, did some root cause analysis, and they identified different area. It's a problem in man, problem is in machine or material or in method. What's the issue? And after identifying the proper root cause, they again did the review or the test tube level changes, then again did the pilot plan, the same changes, and then they applied again to the validation on the shop floor. And after that, they got the results. So here, note given, design development reviews, verification, and validation have distinct purpose. They can be conducted separately or in any combination. Let's say, for example, organization doesn't have a pilot plan in the same example. So the R&D laboratory, they have laboratory test tubes level, LR grade level testings and review is done. But the verification is not possible because they don't have a pilot plant. So verification and validation both together directly happens in the main plant, in the big capacity. That also possible. So organization take a call, they want to do it separately or in a combination, as is suitable for the products and services of the organization. So it is depend on the organization, what suits to them. So it is allowed, they can, when the standard says can means depend on their capabilities, their capacity. Organization capacity is having installed pilot plant, they must run first pilot plant and then they should go for the standard manufacturing facility. I think somebody has raised a question. So far in design and development, research, development related. Anybody wants to ask a question? So far, I think someone has raised a hand. Pradeep Tiwari ji, do you want to ask anything?
No, sir. As of now, like whatever you are explaining, I'm just trying to understand that part. It's okay with me, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I think Vikram Raj Tiwari, you are. I think there is a raised hand. I see Pradeep Tiwari ji. Or should I lower the hand? I'm doing a lower hand. Maybe. Okay. Okay. Let's proceed for further information for external providers. So external providers means purchase. Organization purchase products. Earlier the clause, the older standards so far were having a terminology of purchase. And here the purchase is where the purchase gives the intuition of the products only. And when you say the purchase of services, that gives a different, it's a English stringent, like it's English limitations. So that's why it's an external provider. Actually, it is purchase only. So the information for external providers, the organization shall ensure the adequacy of requirements prior to their communication to the external providers. So prior to communicating or giving order, the adequacy of the requirements needs to be verified. The organization shall communicate to external providers its requirements for verification, validation activities that the organization or its customers intends to perform at the external provider's premises. So this is a beautiful sentence. You know how it is written. Here, the important is customer. If customer wants to do some verification, validation activity, for that purpose, customer wants to perform some validation activity to his supplier's supplier facility. So there are three stages. One is supplier, one is organization, and his customer, third stage. So supplier, organization, and customer. These are three phases. Here it says customer. Suppose customer has his own requirement for validation or verification activity, and in his activity he wants some help from his supplier. That means organization. Organization is complying with the requirement of ISO 9000 standard. It has to be satisfy the customer requirement. There is no doubt at all. But here, and this customer intends to perform any external activity to this organization supplier plant or premises. So the organization has to facilitate that. That's a beautiful requirement. It's rarely understood, or very less people understands this. Normally customer don't ask this. It's very rarely required by customer, even this requirements. But we should aware like how the level of customer satisfaction the organization has to take care of. So the customer, if requires for their verification or validation purpose. Earlier, the standard, the old version of the standard was not defining this verification validation. It was defining open, like any requirement of customer wants to verify, wants to visit to the external provider or supplier provider, organization has to facilitate. Now here, suppose customer has some wrong intention. It's possible, it's business. He wants to check to the supplier, and the next time directly you want to give the order to the supplier. It's may possible. So what is the intention? So it intends to perform at external providers' premises or purchasers' premises of the organization, and for the specific reason of verification or validation activities, the organization has to facilitate. The organization shall communicate to external providers for the requirements. So it's a communication. So this is a kind of a small requirement, very rarely required in the industry, but whenever it is needed, organization is shall requirement. Organization shall communicate this to external providers. So now we are proceeding to the production, the main activity in the production of validation. So as per clause 8.5.1, control of production and service provision. The organization shall implement production and service provision under the controlled condition. That's fantastic. So controlled condition means what? So there are man, machine, material, method, control. There are so many internal sub clauses A, B, C, D, E, F, and the F stands for validation. Here, validation is very differently organized here and very smartly documented in the standard. Control condition shall include as applicable. So if it is applicable, then organization has to fulfill. There are so many organizations where the applicability of validation is not there. So they need not to fulfill, they have to declare the exclusion of this or not inclusion of this clause, subclause. Let's see standard, what say? Standard says the validation and periodic revalidation of the ability to achieve planned results of the processes for production and service provision, where the resulting output cannot be verified by subsequent monitoring and measurement. Here, in this clause, the important word is the resulting output cannot be verified What are the products or services where the resulting output cannot be verified by subsequent monitoring and measurement? Let's say you are preparing a tea in your home. Do you think everybody will give you the same response? Your tea is delicious or fantastic or good? So everybody has their own weightage of feedback. Somebody will rate you 1 to 5 out of like 5. Somebody will rate you 3. One can rate you 1 even for the same tea. So what is the result? What is the final result about that? Is there a instrument available for testing the taste? So the taste, like it's a special, it's a special activity, we call it. There are so many special activities in the industry they perform in their organization during the production. There are organizations where some designated people are specialized who gives the result. If Mr. X gives the result, then only batch will be accepted. So what is Mr. X? What he is doing? Imagine if Mr. X is on leave or he left the organization, the resulting output can be different. The consistency of the quality of the product can affect it, or maybe the result cannot come. So organization has to establish some system within the organization. Let's say food processing company, they are making different products, different food products. Let's say tea itself, tea making company, there are so many tea brands. I know in Gujarat, in this area, there is a brand, Wagh Bakri Tea. I'm not an ambassador of the brand, but it's an example. I remember since more than 3 decades or more than 2 decades here in Gujarat, all the people are consuming the same brand tea. So the tea was exactly same before 20 years ago and today. Not a single pack in these many years which we received or which I bought, I came to across any incident where this time only this pack I found some deterioration of results. Maybe a taste, flavor, fragrances, color, taste itself. So all these are affecting. See, tea is a natural product, the plant-based product. So these plants are grown on the field. There are so many seasons. There are so many years where the high rain was happening, where the low rain was, dry season were also there. There are so many possibility of pest attack on the plants. These all things are happen, but the production organization, they have validated their processes, their production system, where the consistency of the taste comes for the time, for the ages of a time. How they do it, what kind of magic they do. And there are organizations which their products you buy, every batch has a different taste. And for that, they don't get satisfaction level. Nahi yaar, is bar maja nahi. I don't like this time. This kind of results we come. So if you go in a restaurant and if you ask a specific dish, and every time you receive the same consistent taste for years, irrespective of their chef has changed, their facility, their kitchen arrangement has changed, their interior has changed, their managers has changed, their top management has changed, their recipes are changed. Everything is possible in this, but they have a special processes. So they have man, machine, material, method are controlled. There is one beautiful example where the milk, milk is a special product. The perishability It's a perishable product. So the milk has a shelf life of not more than 3 days. After, like pasteurized milk produced in the dairy, they packed it, and from packing to your home in your fridge, it takes at least 24 hours. So already out of 3 days, it has consumed 1 day. So the practical availability shelf life is 2 days. So and there is a microbial test, how which kind of microbes are available in this milk. That needs to, the organization, the dairies, they do microbial test, but the test results has the limitation. The results are coming out after 5 days, because they they do test on the petri dish, they cultivate the bacteria. The bacteria, like they born and they make a colony. The colony are visible, bacteria is not visible, so the colony can visible after 5 days. But when we come to know these are the hazardous bacteria, the toxic bacteria in that milk batch, before that milk has to be consumed. Otherwise, milk itself is no use. So the resulting output cannot be verified by the subsequent monitoring measurement. In this place is important, the validation. So organization has to establish some special activity, man, machine, material method for validating that activity, that product, that service. Normally, we know for service in our schools or college time, where the inspection were happening for service provision for each faculty or each subject. Principals used to come and sit on the last benches to observe the faculty. That is a kind of a validation. At least once in a year, they do, and that has to be results for that. So that's a service validation. There are some other, like tea taster is a special job where the age limit of human taste buds has an age limit of 35. So you will not see more than 35 years aged uh, tea taster or wine tester. So these are the limited age jobs, which having handsome salaries also for that age. And there are special processes. So these tea tester, they have to test and they have to declare the results. So there might be two different testers and their results might differ. So the consistency of product can affect it in the market. So they make some systems, they do arrangements such a way, and they validate the process, the product, and by that way, this consistent same taste, fragrance, color, flavor comes in the market. So this can be applicable for manufacturing industry, for food industry, for pharma, for engineering, like the welding of two metal parts. How you test it? You have to do a destructive test. You have to break it, then
Nine,
strong, very fast.
1.
So the welding is a special process. So welding is properly done or not, that needs to be verified. So nowadays there are instruments available, but you can't test 100% welding. So there is a validation process is important in this. So far, I think these are three different areas. One, design development, one is external providers like purchase, and the control of production and service provision. These are three areas where the standard ISO 9000 standard discuss about the validation. And this is a special process. The main point in validation is intended use.
He's.
So intended
Mhm.
use is verified or not. That is the validation. And the special requirement here in 8.5.1, which is resulting output cannot be verified. In that situation, validation is mandatory. So I think from my side, it is I have given my thoughts in this topic. Thank you very much. These are our contact details. We have our corporate office now in Ahmedabad city itself. We have registered office. You can further connect us on social media, on our website, samrat.com. And my profile website is abhimanyusamrat.com. So far, thank you. Any query, any questions? If please let me know.
Yeah, Dr. Abhimanyu, I want to ask a question.
Yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Please, Sudeshji, please.
Yeah, and then it's an interesting subject, but it's a very controversial subject also, validation,
Yes,
So
yes.
validation, my only worry is resulting output. There is a lot of, whenever we try to impose it in-house in our own organizations or other organizations. So
Yes.
वो बोलते हैं everything can be the resulting output. जैसे आपने बोला student का output. I mean, what is the dividing line between validation and monitoring and verification? Dividing line क्या है? Because controversy यहाँ पे होता है. Even in service provision, for example,
Yes.
can you just? I mean, I need some very specific examples. In any service, for example, let us say in education or training service, for example, जैसे आपने अभी एक training लिया है हम लोगों का. Let us assume this as a training.
Absolutely.
Is validation applicable for these kind of activities? बहुत कंट्रोवर्सी होता है because लोग पढ़ लिख के तो आते ही हैं, किसी ने LA कोर्स किया हुआ है, किसी ने कुछ किया हुआ है, and honestly clarity नहीं है किसी भी लेवल पे. यानी have years and years and this clarity does not come. कि वो validation exactly like is it? I mean आपने बताया कुछ examples अच्छे दिए, for example milk and this bacteria culture and all that. The resulting output is still not verified.
Yeah, Sudesh Sharmaji, I want to thank you for this important question. I really appreciate this question.
You know why? Because you also must be facing these issues with your own clients. कि बोले ये कहाँ है? मैं तो सब कुछ तो देख रहा हूँ, मॉनिटर कर रहा हूँ मैं तो. और ये इन हाउस भी हमें 20 साल बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है कि पढ़े लिखे लोगों के साथ. ये
Yeah.
वैलिडेशन यार पहले तो हमको बहुत भाषा में समझा दो, स्कूल लैंग्वेज में कि
Sure.
तो हम
Absolutely.
आपसे भी वही समझना चाहते हैं शुद्ध भाषा में कि मतलब और कहाँ मतलब अगर झगड़ा हो या कंट्रोवर्सी हो तो वेयर शुड बी से कि यार आपने कहा 3 जगह पे एप्लीकेबल है, डिजाइन स्टेज पे, प्रोडक्शन स्टेज पे. व्हाट वाज द थर्ड वन?
That was in procurement, purchase.
प्रोक्योरमेंट एंड परचेज. थोड़ा सा मतलब प्लीज थ्रो सम मोर लाइट विद वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल्स.
Yes. I appreciate your question. First of all, so let's say for service industry, it's very, as you said, rightly said, it's very thin hairline between it's required or not required. So in service, let's say for training, we are the training house, we are training organization, corporate training is our core business. So what we do, how my employee is imparting a training, will he be a consistent quality deliver or not? That's a question. So maybe he has a degree, he has experienced so many years, but the training is a special process. Training, it depends on the audience who are trained and what exactly we are selling in this consultancy or training activity. We as an organization, we have to know what is our product inherent in service, what exactly we are selling. Let's say for restaurant, it's a combination of product and service. So restaurant is serving food, but it's not only food. They have service of ambience. So restaurant is selling two things together. It's amalgamation of food with ambience. So that's restaurant's the best example where the product and services are together, they have to sell. Here, in our case, in training organization or in service industry, let's say, I'm taking specific example of training organization. So what is our product? What I'm selling right now? So the training, the product is knowledge. So knowledge is packaged in this presentation. So my product is packed into kind of this presentation. So the product is knowledge, and knowledge I am delivering, which is a special thing in my mind, and how I will deliver it depend on me only. It's a special process. So there is someone in my organization, he or she has to validate me for particular product or process, particular topic, and he or she gives the results. Okay, I know you are like, I am established trainer for more than 2 decades in the industry. People know me. But now also, I personally go finding opportunity for get trained for myself at least twice in a year. So increasing my knowledge and applying that same knowledge to the same. Maybe I'm getting knowledge, I'm getting trained for same topic again, because it's like learned people also need to learn more. Like every time, a lifetime student is the main thing for this industry. So I have to get knowledge again and again. I have to be connected in the industry for the information, and how I have delivered, how I could have done better in that case. There is a special person, expert person. He has to observe me, he or she observes me. That's a process, validation process in our organization. It happens once in a year at least. And they grade me. Though I am a top management of the organization, I'm a CEO, MD, everything titled, but a same category of same knowledge of a person, or the like better knowledge of a person can evaluate my practices, delivery of this training, where the improvement is needed. That's a special arrangement. In certification agency, the individual auditor, he used to go to the site and he representing the brand, the organization. Let's say ICS itself is a, Dr. Sundar Kataria is here. The ICS is the certification agency. They have their individual auditors, and these auditors are representing ICS brand. They are performing audits at the site. How they are going to deliver the entire mandate at the site? Are they really validating the ISO 9000 standard compliance requirement or not? How they are asking the question, how they are interviewing, how they are making reports, how they are gathering information, because audit is, after all, the activity of gathering information, how it happens. So these all things needs to be validated by a special person at least once in a year. That mostly all the certification agency, they have their own standards to follow. In their requirement, they have their procedures also to validate the people, the auditing practices. So at least I know so many certification agency, they send their reviewer with during the audit. They are not auditing, but they are auditing the auditors. That happens. So they observe them during the entire day, how he is asking question, how he is noting down, how he's making report, how he's communicating with the client, the top management, the layman, the shop floor people, the HODs of the organization, and how he's capturing the information. What kind of information he left? He was not success together. That all things, that special person sitting aside him say,
ठीक है, Dr. Ravi, ये तो this is now. Thank you for this response. Now another, matlab, I think it is good to ask people like you, who are widely exposed to this topic. What is the dividing line between verification and validation? वहाँ वो जो controversies होती हैं, how do we reduce those controversies?
yes, good question.
Yeah.
So now this is another question, and I understood. So the difference between verification and validation. In this case, let's say verification is what? If I say I'm giving internal auditor training and the success ratio is 70%. So 30% people are not getting success. It's not my fault, but the result is there. Okay. But these candidates are giving feedback. So this feedback analysis is more than 93% every time, let's say, on an average, class average. So the feedback is the result. How they came 3 days ago for the training, and after 3 days, how satisfied they are, how much level of knowledge they achieved, they gathered, how the facility were helping them to get the knowledge, how was the arrangement, how was the course content, how was the the deliverables, the case studies discussed, the activity happened, the exercise were done, all that area we get the feedback. And this feedback is a kind of a verification activity for the training. But see, that's not limit. Verification cannot give the 100% results. Verification results are good for my organization, which I present everywhere to convincing the new client. Like, our success story is like we get 93%, 96% satisfaction ratio from as a class average from our customers, from our candidates who got trained. Okay, so that is a verification activity. But validation is like the satisfaction can come maybe by any way. Anybody can claim a question, but validation is own internal system. It has to be robust system, and there is a requirement in this. It is revalidation. So the validation is not one-time activity. So organization has to decide the frequency of revalidation. So if I am tested in our organization, we have a revalidation facility is arrangement is every yearly. So every year it's a validation has happened.
ठीक है सर, this is clear. Another now one more एक छोटा question और उठता है उसमें से कि अभी आपने जो ट्रेनिंग का फीडबैक लिया उन्होंने 93% they are all happy and there has been a gain in knowledge and everything. उसके बाद ये वेरिफिकेशन था कि मॉनिटरिंग एंड मेजरमेंट का मतलब वहां पे क्या हम डिवाइडिंग लाइन रखते हैं?
Okay, so monitoring measurement is it's fantastic question. So monitoring measurement of product. So monitoring measurement of product is that result, the exam results. So 30% candidates or 20% candidates are not getting that success. It may be a reason like monitoring measurement has, again, if you have to do RCA, root cause analysis.
ट्रेनर का भी तो मॉनिटरिंग मेजरमेंट हो ही रहा है ना साथ में?
यस, तो ट्रेनर का भी हो ही रहा है मॉनिटरिंग मेजरमेंट के भी, मैं ऑन टाइम आ रहा हूँ कि नहीं, मेरा ट्रेनिंग का परफॉर्मेंस क्या है, मैंने कंटेंट कुछ छोड़ दो नहीं दिया, मैंने पढ़ा है कि नहीं, ट्रेन लाइक ऑल एक्टिविटीज एक्सरसाइज डन और नॉट, दैट इज काइंड ऑफ अ मॉनिटरिंग मेजरमेंट.
So that is how it is different from verification.
So after monitoring measurement you get the results, but after that results you have to declare the conformity or non-conformity. That's a confirmation word that differs from review and verification. So in review, you gather objective evidence. That's it. So laboratory test, monitor, measures. They sometimes in some laboratories, they are unable to declare which is confirm or not. If you go testing outside laboratory, they have a instrument measuring equipment available in their lab, but they deny to declare it is confirmed because they don't feel they are responsible to declare that. If let's say for water testing and you send a laboratory, this water need to be tested. So there are defined IS standard, Indian standards, where they allow them to declare it is potable or not. So they declare it's a review activity. But there are, if you send, let's say, if you send a product like milk or pasteurized toned double toned milk, homogenized double toned milks, like let's say, so that laboratory is not having that knowledge. They have a knowledge of performing that test, that's it. So the laboratory can give you results, that's it. So it's a review activity. They don't give you verification, they don't have plan, they don't have ability to declare it is conforming or not conforming. So after getting this review results, organization themselves have to declare it is verified or not. And then validation is a different in the intended use, how it is going to be utilized.
Okay, now एक और लास्ट मतलब this is my last question. एक लेथ मशीन ऑपरेटर है सपोज एंड ही इज रनिंग एन ऑटोमेटिक मशीन, वहां भी क्या होता है टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट आउटपुट विल डिपेंड ऑन द कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ द ऑपरेटर टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट, यू नो. तो व्हाई दैट इज नॉट ए स्पेशल प्रोसेस एंड व्हाई वेल्डिंग इज ए स्पेशल प्रोसेस? तो ये भी बड़ी कंट्रोवर्सी होती है कि हमारी प्रोसेस को स्पेशल क्यों बोल रहे हो, उस प्रोसेस को क्यों नहीं बोल रहे हो, कि वहां भी तो ऐसा ही है, इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द पर्सन हु इज ऑपरेटिंग द मशीन एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स.
I
So,
really appreciate your questions, sir. All your questions were really exact to the mark, to the point, and I'm happy to respond that. See, the welding is a special process, and the lathe machine is not a special. Why? That's very important because the resulting output can be measured. On the lathe machine, a person is performing, applying some activities, and the resulting output, the component is measurable with the vernier caliper or with any measurement facilities available within the organization, maybe scale, maybe micrometer, or maybe in a microscopic analysis they can do in the thread analysis. So the point is here, the measurement is possible. Welding is a special process where the man should be trained, where the machine, the power in welding machine needs to be calibrated, where the material, the rod, welding rod utilized, it needs to be qualified, tested or with the specification and the method. So WPS PQR, we do special process for welding. That is for what? So it's a validation of process of welding. So welding is depend. Suppose the person is not trained, so he may do joint, but it's not proper welding. It's possible. It looks like it's joint, but it's not welding. It's welding is not performed. So the bridge can fall down. The machine is not giving proper power supply. The welding rod is not quality or not under the controlled temperature, or the methodology, the method is not defined. So consistency of a result will not achieve possible. So that's why it's a special process. Let's
हाँ नहीं, I understood sir. This is understood. The only मतलब इसमें जो discussion होता है academic level पे ना generally, वो यही होता है कि everywhere it depends on, even if it is a automatic machine, automatic welding machine होती है, तो automatic welding को भी हम validate करते हैं, वो submerged arc welding और उसको भी, right? लेकिन जो हाँ
Sharma ji, I can explain you.
हाँ
Your lathe machine,
you have
which
to please.
Okay, very good afternoon. Even if you see very high tech lathe machines and automatic machine, for example, that when you are making this engines with 12 cylinders, 8 cylinders, 24 cylinders, they are the machines which are working 24 hours to do all the operation automatically. Casting and then forging and then start working. Similarly, for the camshaft also, it is programmed. So there, I think your question is valid. There you need to have validated. Unless you have validation, you can't get the right result. Otherwise, you are going to lose a very heavily loss of materials and loss of. Well, I have some questions on this. Dr. Abhimanyu Somrat,
Yes, please.
it was very nice presentation with the simple language, and it was directly going to the head, and very simple way you could explain all the aspect, whether horizontal or vertical, related to that validation. Well, one question which keeps on popping in my mind. So compliments and a lot of appreciation with your knowledge on this subject was superb. And my question is now, if you see the validation of certification body, that's also done by accreditation body, because they go through our documentation, they go through our system, they witness the auditors, and they validate us every year. Apart from that, we ourselves are validating ourselves, our activities and system through internal audit, management review meetings, or witness audit of the auditors, and the competence qualification, verification, a lot of things with it. My question is now there is as Sharma ji has also shown, a lot of people have the concern about validation and verification. And most of the industries where we go, we find it, there is no clarity on this. Now, however, I just want to ask you a question, because there is a very borderline. The verification can be extended to validation. Now, I want to know if I, as a manufacturing, I want to do both the activities together, verification and validation
Yes.
together. Is it allowed to me?
Yes, it is allowed.
And then how I should go ahead with this? If you can put light on this, we'll appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you first of all for appreciation. Thank you so much for that. And I think it is already just I want to share this. I already shared it. So in the standard itself, it is clearly written in combination. So here, if you see on the screen, 8.3.4 note, the design development reviews, verification and validation have distinct purpose. So it may possible, as I told, it is on laboratory side, on a pilot plant in the field, on the production floor. It is distinct purpose. They can be conducted separately or in any combination. So it is possible any combination, it is allowed. So I give an example, like if there is no pilot plant facility in the organization, so they can do on a laboratory test review and verification validation directly on the production floor. It's possible, but there is a high risk. If organization want to take that risk, allowed, no problem, take it. So it is possible, it is allowed. It is it is written clearly they can. It is their capability. If their capability is not establishing a pilot plant, then it is allowed. If they have already in-house pilot plant, then standard checks that, auditor has to check that it is first run on the pilot plant or not. Why they took this much of risk? That may be a question. So, and as it is suitable for the products and services, if it has to be suited to the product. For example, for pharma product, it's a new molecule is designed, the product is developed, and they do a test on animals, let's say for mice and rabbits. But they want to skip this and they directly want to apply on the patients, which legal requirement doesn't allow them. There are some molecules, some diseases where legal requirement doesn't allow. So it is not suitable. So as is suitable for the products or services of the organization, that has to be validated, whether it has to be validated by the auditor. So the organization is responsible for follow all the tests required, all the steps required. I think that's the question. That's the answer for it.
Yeah. No, in fact, if you see the COVID vaccine, which was developed, they went for all the accelerated testing and verification, validation was done together.
Can be. That was a pandemic. That is a real example, but that's once in a while. It's not a normal molecule. That's a special of the special process. I will say there's a special of the special process directly with the countries, prime ministers. The humanity is directly, not following all the rituals, all the systems which is allowed to go bypass all the systems. In that special case, it is okay, no problem. But the same organization now will invent for another vaccine. I don't think they will allow for.
नहीं करेंगे sir. That was only in case of these kind of natural disasters and emergencies. Same thing happens with land acquisition also. No, अगर defense का कोई urgent requirement है, so government has got the power to acquire your land without going through a formal process. So ये government का, let us say, they have that kind of upper hand always in these matters. और Dr. Samit sir, मैं ना taking off from where Kataria sir left his question, another sub question comes up is कि service sector में भी क्या है कि what is to be like, let us say there is a cleaning agency housekeeping agency. So वहाँ पे where is the dividing line between how they clean their जो housekeeping का जो काम होता है, mopping of floors, and आपने airports पे भी देखा है जो करते हैं वो लोग, उसका किस हद तक वेरिफिकेशन एंड वैलिडेशन की जरूरत होती है वहाँ पे. दिस क्वेश्चन जस्ट केम अप कि in a service sector like that, where there is housekeeping and there is, of course, there are products which are involved. Some of them are using herbal products now. Some of them are using non-toxic products, so वो products तो ठीक है, they are all branded items, so you can say they are validated. But for this particular service of this type, वहाँ पे जैसे होटल में हाउसकीपिंग है, these people do a lot of laundry operations. So in those laundry operations, is there some validation in a housekeeping operation like floor mopping? Is there some validation in an operation like high-rise window cleaning? Is there some validation? मतलब ये जरा थोड़ा सा let us have a discussion on this.
Yeah, I appreciate you are moving towards a difficult questions, but I'm happy to answer in this case. Here, in these all areas, the expert is required. So that's why the consultant need is generated here. So
Yeah.
all these processes are measurable. Let's say for mopping, whipping, after all, sanitization, what we are doing? Sanitization, we are killing the bacteria, which are non-required toxic bacteria. With the special detergent or special kind of chemicals, we are applying on that on the floor, and we are killing that, or we are removing them from that place. So the air monitoring or the swab test is possible. There are microbial tests are established. So the resulting output is possible. So they can exclude the validation process. The
Yeah.
process where the resulting output is not possible.
Correct.
So they have to
Correct. If you see, all these hotels are very vulnerable. A lot of infection is there through your electric switches, through the utensil you are using, common utensil you are using, linen you are using. People ask why they waste money to wash every time the customer goes and they wash. There is a reason, because they have validated and they have found it is necessary. Otherwise, you can't kill, as you say, those bacteria or infections or viral which they left on the bed or on their takia or on their pillow, or on their switches or the glass panels, handles.
or they
There are a
use
lot of things.
the products even. Sometimes the other customer already use and they put it again for the new customer also.
ये साहब रेलवे को बोलिए, रेलवे में है ना, अभी एक आरटीआई में पूछा था, वो जो बेडिंग देते हैं ना, मतलब 1.5-2 साल से धोया नहीं है राजधानी में भी उसको. राजधानी एक्सप्रेस के उसको जो आपको ब्लैंकेट देते हैं ना, दैट इज नेवर वॉश्ड फॉर 1.5
There is never wash. Yeah.
खाली वो चादर दे देते हैं आपको धुली हुई, मतलब
तो इसीलिए वो लोग, उनका इंटरप्रिटेशन ये है कि वो लोग इसलिए 2 चादर देते हैं, तो यू कैन अप्लाई द अनदर layer of bedsheet. So you don't apply directly the blanket, you need to have a blanket.
वो तो सब पैथोजन उसमें नहीं बचेगा, पैथोजन तो आपके अंदर जाएगा ही, वो जो उसके ऊपर रहेगा, वो चादर नहीं बचा सकती है उसको.
But I visited a facility, railway facility in Ahmedabad railway station, which is the biggest, the western zone. All the linen are washing here, but they have their own microbial testing like arrangements, not in house, but they send it outside and they verify it. They test for the detergent. They have a gigantic washing machine. It's like at a time in a 2 ton of linen, they wash it in single run, and the drying facility, the automatic pressing facility, it's a kind of a entire chain in the production chain they have. It's a fantabulous establishment they have. But there are challenges. We know that
नहीं, आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ द ऑर्डिनरी वाला जो सेकंड थर्ड एसी में और इवन इन फर्स्ट एसी समटाइम. ये राजदा जो एलीट वाली गाड़ियां, उसमें तो बहुत केयर करते हैं वो, जो ऑल दिस दुरंतोस एंड शताब्दीज एंड इफ यू वहां पे, और इवन राजधानी ऑफ फर्स्ट एसी ऑफ राजधानी, वहां पे एवरीथिंग इज वेरी गुड, एज यू राइटली सेड कि इवन द टॉयलेट्स आर क्लीन आफ्टर एवरी यूज. आपने देखा वो एलीट वाली गाड़ियों में तो ये है, हो रहा है, but not in the regular trains, like if you take a typical train from Mumbai to Ahmedabad or and travel even second AC or first AC, तो वहां फिर ये चीजें इग्नोर हो जाती हैं.
correct. I think someone has raised his hand, I think. Anybody
Yeah,
want?
yeah, we should have a variety of questions. Yeah, yeah.
Sir, meanwhile, I have a question.
Yeah, please, please.
Sir, just throw some light on the revalidation. What should be the frequency and what factors to be considered based the revalidation frequency? This is something that somebody says it's validity. Our revalidation is 6 months. Somebody says we can extend up to 5 years. So what exactly the factors, governing factors, and how the revalidation frequency can be decided?
Yeah, it's an important question. Let's say I'm a management consultant for Amul brand for their different unions. So Amul is a milk producing, milk is a special product. It's like it's not a white liquid, it's milk. How you differentiate it? It's required every farmer's milk they need to test. So it's really seriously they test for each farmers. Just they take it on hand, and because the on hand it's required to be touched. So all the senses has to be applied in that. So the testing is again in the test birds. So we did a special process for that, the validation implemented in that. So there are so many different sites, and there are I think 6 or 7 testers were there. So all they test, we call them all together, and they one by one we put different samples. One by one person enter in this room, and they did it. The results, like, this is not a milk. This is white, something white chemical with salt. Or in this milk there is a sweetness. In this milk there is a sourness. In this milk there is a, this is not milk, there is something else. So he has to write that with the weightage, and there's a methodology. But after this 1 year, it's minimum at least once in a year it has declared, because the activity can be forgotten by the performer, because he has to test every day 100 of testings, 100 of tastes. So at least once in a year they do. The second methodology we establish in the same, that is when the new person joins in this testing, because all the sites should declare the same results. If one person is adding into that, he may declare, it's possible he may declare something else. So whenever the new tester is joining, so we have to calibrate all the test to provide the consistency. So that is a kind of can be an answer for this, but it depends on the team, the ability, the product, or their rejections. If they have a many rejection after doing this, so the frequency can be reduced, not for 1 year. Why? Can be quarter or 6 months. So, and if they don't have, let's say, ideally in the external audit is happen once in a year. So wherever the frequency we call, it is at least once in a year we put it as per the standard requirements in that case. Because if you put once in a 3 years, then how it will be, this clause can be audited by the external auditor. So that's a challenge. So that's why at least once in a year we put it, when the organizations are claiming for they have implemented ISO 9001. In that case, at least once in a year, it has to be done, revalidation. So as I said, in our organization, we personally do revalidation at least once in a year. Like my colleague, she validates me. She sits in one of my training throughout the year, and she checks, and we discuss on that. I get the results. I check for my all other employees and so on. Since this facility, this activity we do since last more than 2 decades.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for explaining topic in simplifying way. I request everyone, if anyone have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask directly or put in the chat box. There are no questions, sir.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening me so far. And online trainings webinars are I know because I also attend. So how they are torturing for listening one side, one way communication most of the time. But and thank you so much for questions asked. They are so relevant and valued questions. I got opportunity to brush up my knowledge on replying on them. Thank you, Kataria Saab. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone,
sir.
for being here.
Thank you.
टॉपिक टफ है, सर टॉपिक वाज टफ, आपने अच्छा हैंडल किया। ये
Thank you.
टॉपिक वाकई में मतलब ये कितनी भी बार इस पे डिस्कशन करो, एंड आई स्टिल फील कि इस पे मतलब डिस्पाइट रिपीटेड एकेडमिक इंटरैक्शंस मतलब अधूरा ही रहता है ज्ञान इसके ऊपर हमेशा ये
Sir, I beg your testimonial on this. How we have just
नहीं
delivered.
इट इज टफ, एंड आपने बहुत इसको मतलब यू हैव ट्राइड योर बेस्ट टू सिंप्लीफाई इट टू व्हाट। बहुत टफ है ये वाकई में, मतलब मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, हमको 20 साल हो गए कंट्रोवर्सीज करते हुए सबके साथ, इवन विद इन द न्यूक्लियर इंडस्ट्री सेटअप NPCIL। लोग मानते ही नहीं है कि नहीं नहीं ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, ऐसा है, कोड ऐसा नहीं बोलता, कोड ऐसा बोलता है। ये चैलेंज आपको भी आता ही होगा डेफिनेटली, मतलब हाँ।
That is always come. And most of the, like in this, I want to comment here, like most of the consultant jobs, they insist the organization not to follow this because they can reduce their efforts. So that's not a correct way of doing consultancy activity. That's not the ethical way of doing it. And where it is applicable, it has to be understood well and it has to be applied. That is my request to all the fraternity of consultants and auditors for the implementation specifically. So
Agreed.
because most of the organization, they don't know, or customer organization, they don't know, and the consultant, they want to reduce their task, their efforts, so they get it into exclusion. So that's not the way of doing business.
सब वाई वन थिंग, मतलब अभी इतने सारे CDs हमने भी देखे हैं, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग ऑफ ICS, आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ द CDs ऑल अराउंड अस। उनके जो ऑडिटर्स आते हैं उनको भी कहाँ क्लैरिटी है, मतलब अगर किसी ने बोल दिया कि एप्लीकेबल नहीं है वो बोलते हैं ठीक है यार जस्टिफिकेशन बताओ, वो 4 लाइन दिखा देते हैं जस्टिफिकेशन का, नॉट एप्लीकेबल बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रीजन, एंड पीपल जनरली एग्री कि ठीक है यार, उनका भी हेडेक कम, इनका भी कम, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। एवरी मतलब देयर इज अ शॉर्टकट टेंडेंसी एक्चुअली ऑन दिस।
Actually, sir, my PhD research is on that. It's, and the issues of implementation of management system.
हमारे सामने क्वेश्चन आया था आज से 40 साल पहले, हिंदुस्तान पेट्रोलियम में, मैंने वर्किंग देयर तो ये ग्रीस का वैलिडेशन कहाँ पे करना है, लैब में करना है कि एक्चुअल कंडीशन में करना है, आप समझे ना। ये क्वेश्चन तब उठा था कि उसका वैलिडेशन, मतलब मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग था, एंड लास्ट में मतलब द वैलिडेशन वाज डन ऑन एक्चुअल ट्रक्स मतलब एक फ्लीट ऑफ ट्रक्स के ऊपर किया था कि वो हाई टेम्परेचर में घाट के ऊपर वो ग्रीस कैसे बिहेव करती है। बट वो आई टेल यू ऑनेस्टली दैट वर्ड वैलिडेशन वाज नॉट यूज्ड।
Yes.
द ग्रीस वाज फॉर्मुलेटेड, मैन्युफैक्चर्ड, लेकिन अब वो है तो डिजाइन स्टेज में ना, कमर्शियल स्टेज में है ही नहीं अभी।
Yes.
तो फिर वो ग्रीस को यूज किया था, वो तो बड़े बड़े जो 30 एक्सेल के ट्रक्स आते थे उसमें, एंड
Okay.
बाद में पता लगा कि घाट पे वो पिघल रही है वो ग्रीस
Oh.
But honestly, that word validation was not in use. Validation word came only, I think, in after 1987 when the first ISO standard came, 9001.
Yes, exactly.
वो 20 क्लॉज वाला जब आया था ना, 20 क्लॉजेज वाला।
That was in 2000.
नो उससे पहले
94,
87 में,
1994.
क्योंकि हमने HPCL रिफाइनरी को कराया था वो 20 क्लॉज वाला उस समय।
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for like being with you here. And anytime, these are my contact details on the screen. Anybody, if want to be, not for commercial aspects, but if you want to discuss on any technical things, I'm happy to discuss on that, help you in this. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So we will continue with our next session on 15 July on the topic MSME driving force in India's economic growth. It shall be taken by Kishore Kumar Pahuja, sir. He shall cover make Indian MSMEs globally competitive, promote growth and development of MSME, facilitation and credit flow of MSME, promotion of MSMEs through cluster-based approach, marketing support to MSMEs, followed by question and answer session. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, that is QMS, EMS, and OHSS. Excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and Hindi. For reading any of the above book, please contact on the given number. Feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give feedback. Your feedback is required, very valuable to us. Thank you, Abhimanyu sir. Thank you all the delegates and participants who joined this Sadgunsang, and have a great success. And now it's time to officially close the session. Thank you each and everyone to being a part of this Sadgunsang. Thank you.
Thank you.